School of Management for the TD and Rotman Women at Work Symposium and Essay Competition. We've already talked to two fabulous finalists. We think there should probably be 349 prizes, I think. That's how many people applied.
I'm so glad I'm not a judge.
Oh, so am I. And joining us right now are Tania Grimmer and Kari Lynn Larson. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So let's start with Tania. Why don't you tell us something about yourself, where you're from, and why you wanted to be part of this?
I'm from Kincardine, Ontario, which is a small town northwest of Toronto, about 3.5 hours. I am now a social worker working for the Canadian Mental Health Association with mentally ill clients. I'm an ex-police officer, and I think through both lines of work, I may be typical of the struggles that women have faced in their careers, trying to juggle motherhood, career, finances, education, everything, and trying to find a balance, and I think I found it.
Now, Vanessa Irucci, when she was here first, she was our first guest on the show, she talked about a police officer, and I'm guessing that it's you that really set precedent for, you were the first person to, she was explaining that it was a first, so you take it away.
So on the police department, that was back in the early 80s, there was nowhere for women to go once they became pregnant. So if you were pregnant, you basically had to resign. And us police women, there was like two of us that kind of started this. We felt that was quite unfair. Other police men that had injuries or that were even charged criminally were given special duties, light duties off the road. So they were accommodated, and yet women that were pregnant had to resign. So we approached the union, police union. At the time they weren't that supportive. This was all fairly new. It's a little bit different now. Basically we were able to get them to accommodate us and put us on light duties for the duration of our pregnancy. Back then it was 17 weeks for maternity leave, and my daughter Paige was only 13 weeks at the time. And I felt like I couldn't go back. I needed to be with her, and so I resigned. And there was no part-time policing or anything like that, or any extra leave. But there was a very strong feminist on the police services board, and she called a special meeting after I resigned. And as a result of that meeting, the police chief offered me a year leave of absence, and this was brand new for our police department. And as a result, other women got that same year leave of absence.
Now that's quite a change that was made. How was that embraced, though? I mean, the management obviously came around, but how was that embraced by your co-workers, your male co-workers?
Well, it's interesting because by the time I came back a year later, a lot of them didn't even know I'd gone anywhere.
It's amazing, they hardly miss you really, do they? I know.
I mean, we think we're really important, but, our life is important in our eyes, but everything moves on.
So Kari Lynn, tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, I was born and raised in Cochrane, Alberta, so just outside of Calgary, and moved to Toronto approximately 20 years ago. I'm currently the owner and president of Dragonfly Meeting Solutions, Inc., which is a conference and meeting management logistics company. I started that 4 years ago after leaving a larger company where I was in the same industry for about 20 years. My story my essay that I submitted was really about the choices that I made along the way from sort of university on to today. A number of different obstacles and challenges were sort of thrown in my path and dictated where I went with my career, from career building and getting to sort of a very top position with title and salary, and making the choice to sort of step down from all that when family priorities took precedent. And from that, I started my own company, and now my work-life balance is fantastic.
How was it, each time when you made a change along that way, how much of a struggle was it for you personally, internally, to make those changes of direction along the way?
You know what, struggle is probably an interesting word, because part of the discussion within this essay was it's a choice versus a struggle. And I think along the way, I didn't actually realize that I was making that choice or those choices. They were just decisions that had to be made. So I would call it more embracing and persevering and sort of making the best of all situations and coming out feeling really good about it and taking risks that you're not scared to take.
Okay, very, very healthy choices. Now, what was it like to go this morning? Because I understand you've come down here from a very, let's call it, nerve-wracking experience. Tell us a little bit about that, because I mean, we're down to the wire for finding out who wins.
Yeah, I think it's your life. It's your life story.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going in and being interviewed on topics that you're not familiar with or that you don't have answers for. It's really about just being honest with who you are and why you submitted or even participated in this essay in the first place. To me, it was an amazing retrospective chance to look at your life. And, not everybody gets the chance to sit down and write down what they've done, and nobody takes the time to do that these days. As a result of that, I actually put this essay, the longer version of it, into a hardcover book for my daughter, sort of as a legacy keepsake for her, that she now will then be able to understand sort of where I came from and the choices I made along the way, and that risks are great to take, and that decisions, not everybody has the opportunity to make choices, and if you have them, then you're blessed. And to me, the book that I'm going to be giving her is sort of the reward for me out of this whole essay competition.
And Tania, what about your experience?
To me, it's been similar, like a great reflection on my life and the choices I've made. And I think some of the struggles and choices are indicative of what most women go through, even today. And it was kind of neat to look at the choices I've made and realize they were the right choices for me, and that women can have everything, and maybe not at the same time, but we can succeed in all areas of our life.
Now, I'm curious whether you ladies think there will be a time when there won't be a need to have an essay competition on the struggles and choices and balances that women have to choose. I think we're moving in the right direction. Are we moving fast enough?
That's a good question. I'm not sure it's a need versus that's a tough one. I mean, you hope that you will always have an opportunity and you will always make a right choice within that opportunity. You will always have obstacles regardless of what they are. But I think that women in the workforce now are being given more opportunities in situations like Tania's story. She basically paved the way for a lot of people behind her. And I think for my personal experience, since I'm an entrepreneur and a small business owner, I made a choice. I didn't have the need to rely on another larger institution to make that choice. But I think because of what's happening in the world of women in work, it's making it easier to make those choices, I think. Yeah, great advancement.
And I think that we still have a ways to go. And in a way, it was a bit surprising that we're still gathering research about these things. But I think basically we still have some systemic sexism in the workforce and in the institutions. And so I think we still have a ways to go.
What do you see? Give us an example of the systemic sexism that you see.
Well, we were chatting, the six of us earlier, about how women still have to make a choice. Men don't have to make a choice. Women still are maybe things are pondered about them in terms of their commitment to an organization, because it's assumed they will go in and out of the workforce. And so to me, that's still a problem, that we maybe are not offered the same opportunities as a result of the fear that men may have about our commitment. And I think it's not justified. I think most of us are in careers for 40 or more even years now. They're talking about people staying in the workforce longer. And when you think the average woman has 2 point or 1 point something children these days, it's really only going to be a year or two out of a 40 or more year career. So I think those issues are really unjustified.
The other thing I would add to that is we're talking about sexism. Is the next frontier that's going to be addressed ageism? Because that's alive and well. What would you say, ladies?
I think so, because I mean, there's been cases, one I know of a firefighter who spent 15 years trying to get on the fire department, applied many times and finally got on. And so he wasn't on the fire department for maybe more than 20 years, and he turned 65 and he was forced to resign and was trying to fight that. Because he was 65, he had to resign. So that's kind of an ageist attitude.
Except for women, though, I talk to businesswomen all the time who say once they hit 50, they're looking behind their shoulder every minute of every day. Whereas the men in that same organization with the same title don't.
I haven't experienced that. I feel that other people look up to you once you're over a certain age in terms of your experience and what you can offer.
And I would say in my situation, because I have started my own business, it's definitely now for me a growth mode at this age in my career with regard to sort of building a little bit of an empire versus working for somebody else. So to me, it's sort of the start of great things being at this midlife, I guess you would call it.
So what's it been like to meet your other semi-finalists in there this morning?
Very interesting. Yeah, it's what a great group of ladies.
A little bit daunting. I think the judges have a tough time.
Great stories. Yeah, everybody's got their own story, and there's no story that's I wouldn't say there's no story that's better or the best. I would say that all 6 of us have fantastic stories to share.
And you're all winners for the experience, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Click the channel subscribe button for full-length interviews and more from What She Said here on YouTube.